everyone. Thank you for joining this food safety conversation, 22nd in our series, where we talk to the practitioners to get their insights on food safety. And in this conversation, we are going to be talking about food safety culture. As we all know, food safety culture cannot be defined as the food safety attitudes, values, beliefs shared by a group of people in an organization which delivers safe food. We rely on every person in the food supply chain to make the right decisions because there is only so much process you can manage. Food safety culture is not a technical issue, but it is more of a behavioral about doing things right. Over the next 90 minutes, we're going to Subramanyam, Director of Quality, Panellists, India, Ms. Smita Murthy, Local Representative, India, FSSC, and Mr. Pranav Madhusudan, CEO, India Operations, Vishal Natural Foods, to see if something like this is even possible out here. I start by introducing our panelists, starting with Subramanyam. Subramanyam has over 24 years of industrial experience in the food processing sector, mainly in dairy, beverage, juice, packaged water, nutrition products, edible oil, and fruit processing, most of which is in quality domain. Subramanyam has developed and implemented quality and food safety manual based on various international requirements like US FDA, PMO 2015, 3A, British Columbia, Codex, CFIA, Australia, and New Zealand, and many more out there. He also have been instrumental in developing and implementing equipment design and hygienic requirements for CIP, HTST pasteurization, sterilization, and water treatment. He has delivered 2 international and 20 national level presentations on quality, food safety, hygienic, engineering, environmental, and operational excellence at various seminars. He is a member of EDIG India Council and BIS FAD Committee, FAD 19. He has published 3 papers on hygienic design of pasteurizer for preventing cross-contamination, assure effective pasteurization of milk, and sustainability for dairy industry. He also have drafted 3 new standards for BIS FAD Committee and 19 for dairy products and equipment. He is currently the Director of Quality at Panellists India, part of Panellists Group, a family-owned dairy group in Laval, in the west of France. He has a MSc Chemistry and PG Diploma in Dairy Technology. Welcome, Subramanyam.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction.
Next, we have Ms. Smita Murthy, who is the India representative for FSSC 22000. Smita comes with 30 plus years of experience in the food industry. She started her career from developing the ELISA-based system when working as research assistant at National Institute of Virology. She then moved to Coca-Cola, where she spent 2 decades training people on HACCP across 63 bottling units, managing audit operations, leading the team of 8 auditors across Eurasia, Africa, and Asia. She now represents FSSC at India to ensure that she works with the industry to further the adoption of food safety management system. She is a microbiologist by education. Welcome, Smita.
Thank you, Sarika. Thank you.
And finally, we have Pranav Madhusudan, CEO of India Operations at Vishal Natural Food Products, a leading manufacturer of pickle products like gherkins, jalapenos, pulps, paste, and herb spices. With a bachelor's degree in engineering, Pranav is an experienced operations manager and has been focusing on making their world-class products available in India under the brand Entree. Welcome, Pranav.
Thanks, Sarika. Thank you for the introduction.
And before we start, a little bit about myself. I'm Sarika Agarwal, and I run Food Safety Works. We are a food safety solution company based out of Bangalore, with offices in Mumbai and Delhi. We help our customers with implementing standards, regulatory compliances, and productization services around national and international standards. So, welcome, team. Let's start with Subramanyam on a light note. We know that cultures are one of your products. But how do you define food safety culture?
Initially, you treat food
You on mute, Subramani.
Yes, food safety culture is getting a lot of attention in across the globe. We've been talking about B2B, business, B2C business, etc. It's now going to be P2P. People are going to drive the business, be it is food or non-food. Looking at the challenges globally coming up now, it's every industry to drive the food safety and quality culture in the organization, taking the alignment of each and every stakeholder, be it is from the procurement, be it is from manufacturing, be it is the distribution, be it is the sales team. Everybody should be aligned on the common goal of giving the safe food to the valuable consumers. Looking at this note, what I will look at as a larger scenario, first, awareness about the food safety culture across the organization need to be strengthened, because food safety, most of us, we know since the journey started in the early 1960s when the US was planning to send astronauts to the moon. So we have been evolving over a period of time. There are a lot of improvements with respect to HACCP standard. A lot of improvements happened with respect to FSMS and then FSSC. Now FSSC is also driving the food safety culture. So many things are coming up in this journey. When we look into the food safety culture, first bringing more awareness on the what part to be done by each and every stakeholder, so that the end product will able to reach the consumer in a better food safety manner. That is my initial thoughts, and lot many things to discuss it upon. When we talk about some of the basic things, if you look at the food safety culture, if you ask 100 people the question, what comes to the center of the point is the commitment of the leadership, lead by examples, walk the talk. These are the things comes into the, if you ask some 100 people, what do you believe about food safety culture? This is what, as a leaders in the food industry, we need to demonstrate our, behavioral aspects, because that behavior is going to create the culture for the industry where we, work upon. So these are my initial thoughts, and I would like to add additional information in the coming discussion.
Great. I see that you know the culture pretty well, Subramani. Definitely, yes, it's a team effort, not just the QA, where QA has been driven down for everything to be, put in place. So it's definitely the people who have to work towards having the food safety culture driven down in an organization. Now, coming to you, Smita, having spent over 2 decades at Coca-Cola, where do you see the drive of the food safety culture coming from?
Smita, you're on mute.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Sarika. I think if you look at the crises that have happened in the food industry, we've had several. A lot of them, you realize, I just read a paper from the European hygienic requirement consortium, that they were saying that a lot of failures come from GMP failures. It's not some big thing that goes wrong and where you have a food safety crisis. So organizations nowadays know that it's just meeting compliance and regulations is not enough. Just as having only scientific knowledge and policies in place are not enough to achieve food safety sustainably in an organization. And I think you have to raise the individual awareness to actually, lead to an actual behavioral change, which is required to manage an organization sustainably meeting their food safety requirements. So I think that is pretty much where the drive comes from. We've had several crises, and we know that just doing compliance is not going to take us where we need to. So just to get something sustainable, I think it has to be at the behavior level, at the people level. And so this food safety culture is what can drive it. And because culture is dynamic, we have to keep seeking continuous improvements there. And like Subramani mentioned, food safety has seen so many evolutions over the years. And this is, in this iteration, we're trying to make it more sustainable, more, it is finally people-centric. So you have to drive people to food safety. So I think that's where the drive comes in from.
Okay, that's a great perspective. And I do remember Mr. Frank, FDA policy regulator maker, did mention once in his quote saying like policies are good, having the quality management systems or food safety management systems are good. Till you don't implement the same thing, nothing works out, right? So basically you have the things, whatever is there on your paper have to be implemented, has to be part of their life, what they are doing. So yeah, that's great. Yes. How now to you, Pranav, do you think it is even possible to create a food safety culture in the Indian context?
Uh, yes, Sarika, actually, it is possible because you see that there is a lot of, if there's a pull from the market, from the customer side, stating that we would like to audit you and these are the SOPs which you'll have to take care and you'll have to educate your clients, your workers, and you'll have to put a lot of things in perspective so that we can come and audit you for giving you orders, then everybody falls in line. So the Indian, now today it used to happen only for the international customers, but we have seen lately that the Indian companies also want the food safety culture to be one of part of their audit. And when that comes into place, we have to comply. So the whole industry comes into that mode where even the domestic customers are auditing you for the food safety. They would like to check how good your company is right now. And that culture, which is developed over the period of years, will actually make it possible here in India. But it's interesting to see a lot of companies in India right now are driving this force and pushing us towards for food safety culture as well. So they look at the awareness, they want to see, they actually talk to the workers on the food handlers individually, so to see if they're aware or not about what the management has set policy on. So it's very interesting to see that over a period of years, in the past 1 year especially, after COVID and all that, we've changed a lot in terms of how the auditing is happening right now.
So basically, yes, customer is still the king, right? It's been driven by the awareness that the people have, and then whatever the policies have been put in place, it's time to get down and then have those implemented, right? Yeah, that's quite encouraging to hear. Yeah. So my next question to you, Subramani, how do you measure food safety culture? What is the assessment model that can be used?
Very good question. In fact, we also been taught in the industry, if you want to treasure something, start measuring. Only thing, those matrices which are measured will able to make improvement. So what we look at is we can have a kind of a internal questionnaire for each level of the organizational teams. It could be from the shop floor, it could be in the middle management, it could be in the top leadership. We can have a questionnaire aligning the awareness level. Do they know the impact or their activities on the food safety? Do they know what are all the kind of business goals with respect to food safety requirements? Do they know what food safety risks is associated in their level? Do they know what kind of control measure they have, whether what kind of validation is being done? It's a kind of a questionnaire of say 100-point scale, and we can do an assessment of all the employees who are working in the plant. It could be a manufacturing plant, it could be a service oriented organization. When such, the questions could be different for different level. When whatever I've been taught till now would be for the shop floor, then we'll go to the management level. When you talk about the management level, do you foresee any control measure failures? Do you have interaction with other industry body associations? Do you get any additional food safety risks coming out of from the other industry which you could able to evaluate? And then how good your budgeting with respect to food safety control measure improvements? These kind of a questionnaires we can have for everyone. It's not only for quality manager. All the managerial across the various functions can have this kind of questionnaire, and then we will see how much score we get out of 100. And coming to the top leadership team, it could be the then looking at, are we geared up for the latest regulations, latest improvements happening in the GFSI? Do we know what GFSI requirements on the upcoming hygienic design requirement, which is being added into the, getting into the GFSI recognized certification, whether our team members are trained enough on the GFSI expectation. Do we know what kind of investment we need to allot in the coming years to upgrade our plans to meet those GFSI requirements? These are the things we can have a kind of a questionnaires, and then we can evaluate how good we are. If you are having 10 factories, we can evaluate this for the 10 factories, and then we can rank them based on, we can have internal ranking system, maybe 1 to 5, maybe 5 would be a leader, 3 would be, kind of a progressor, 1 would be, kind of a, initiator, or, kind of a ranking. And then we will see how good each factory is, on this ranking system. This ranking would be able to bring the matrices in the table. So as I said, if you want to treasure, start measuring it. This is one of the tools many food industries are doing. So this could be custom designed for based on the industry. We can use many tools nowadays, Google Forms, etc. available. So when this kind of matrices are being brought in, definitely, the improvement action plan. We need to have a management action plan based on the survey. Based on this survey, when the management action plan is made, and if it is reviewed on a monthly basis, definitely in the 1 year down the line, the level of maturity of food safety, continuum, food safety culture continuum will go to next level, and then we need to go to next level. So that thereby, those practices could be, we'll able to benchmark within the organization, and also who, and also I'm visualizing maybe in a year or two, FSSAI also can bring this portion of food safety culture as a part of improvement journey of all the organization. I wish even the organization which promotes on food safety awards, they will also able to consider this kind of food safety culture is being developed, implemented in the organization. And Pranav talked about customers are asking about whether do we have a food safety culture in the organization. The customers also will be more than delighted. Yes, this is what the culture from X level, the company is moving to Y level, and then they have the clear path to drive the improvement on the maturity.
Yeah, I think, what Subramanyam, you put it across, saying like, definitely we would love to see FSSAI coming up, saying like, putting the food safety culture as one of the points, because they are the drivers, we are just the implementers out there. We are still crawling. I think definitely we have to learn how to run, with the world, where the world is moving towards food safety. Adding to that, yes, measurement is, till you don't measure, you don't know where are we, what are we doing. So measurement, analysis, data analysis of what's happening is very, very important when you are putting an assessment model, because we all know food safety culture is more of an objective thing, right? It's not like everything can be measured, but then, you have to put systems and processes. That's great. Yeah. So Smita, coming to you, talking about FSSC, standards like BRC and IFS are a lot more, explicit about assessing the food safety culture, while FSSC is a lot more implicit. Any reasons on why that is the case?
Yes. So, food safety is a buzzword, and when you say a lot of standards are explicit, that's absolutely true. But having said that, FSSC is the only GFSI recognized standard that's based on ISO 22000. The others are not ISO 22000 based. So our structure is also very close to ISO 22000. So our way of looking at assessing food safety culture is a bit different. Our belief is that since you have an ISO 22000 standard, which is the basis of the foundation of FSSC 22000 as well, it already has a lot of clauses and it covers a lot of what the GFSI guiding questions for assessing food safety culture are. So a qualified auditor or an assessor, he or she can look at the ISO clauses and pull out stuff from the ISO clauses, which meets the GFSI guiding questions for assessing food safety. What FSSC 22000 has done is we've come out with a guidance document which shows the interlinkages between the GFSI questions to assess food safety culture and the existing ISO 22000 clauses. Makes it easy for an organization which has a background or has a basis of ISO 22000 and the basic food safety systems in place, it makes it easier for them to put a look at their own systems also and check whether they have food safety culture in place. So that is why it's not as explicit, because we already believe ISO 22000, which has 134 countries and the best brains putting the standard together, have already looked at the clauses. And if you really do implement them well, food safety culture can be assessed through it, and a separate additional requirement is really not needed. So that's where the belief comes from, and that's why it's a bit implicit, like you say.
Oh, that's great. Yes. So folks who are implementing ISO 22000, they have to be aware, saying like a food safety culture is already there, and have your systems and processes assessed against that. Right. So coming to you, Pranav, your plant is IFS certified. And how do you measure the maturity of your organization on this parameter?
Okay, so starting from the procurement side, we started looking at, we used to look in a different way. So auditing the suppliers was one thing which started. Then we started looking at after procurement, you had the QC for inwards of the products inside the factory. Then that became a very big scope where they had a lot of parameters and checklists where they had to write it down. Then the GRNing and which were happening before started becoming more streamlined and easier for the traceability. And then comes the culture which developed in the production, where a lot of are from the top management, the supervisors, then their the head of the department, then supervisors, then the food handlers started getting to know what the SOPs are, and they started handling the food in a better way, and they started complying to what what was required, and what was the do's and don'ts, what are the CCPs, and what were the critical points in terms of were identified and shown everybody, and training was happening, and everybody knew what came. And I think one of the main things of IFS was that they would randomly pick any one of the food handlers and interview them. So that was something which was so we had to train them thoroughly. So training was something which was at its peak. And then comes the packing and the dispatching checklist. And so the culture changed completely when the IFS started into now. So now we are ready for an IFS audit at any given day, versus what we were at the beginning when we started getting onto it 3-4 years back. So a lot has changed in the factory. A lot of people are aware of what the SOPs are, and what is required for an IFS audit has been identified. And we are happy to see that our team comes back to us and tells us this is not done, or that is not done, and this is supposed to be done. So that's something where shows us that the factory is aware of the people in the factory are aware of what needs to be done. So that's something which we've seen over a period of years. And we as a management also learn a lot in this process. We also understand from the auditor saying that if we have done something wrong the last time, we try rectifying it, and we try making sure that it doesn't come back as a problem from the next audit. So this we've seen. And apart from all this, even I can say that from the lowest level, from the food handlers also, we see that there are a lot of issues which have been resolved over a period of years. Like they were we being in the village side of we're in the rural side sector of the country, where the factory is with all the villagers who are sure not even educated. So to educate them and bring them on board and ask them to show it to them in the local language, saying that this is what is required from you. So yes, we've come a long way from that. Sorry.
Yep, great. I think as a management, you are providing your resources and doing a great job. So, all the best to you. Coming to you, Subramani, you did mention saying like the assessment model through your questionnaires, the surveys that can be done, put a pointer scale, right? Saying like anybody who's getting 3, move them to a leadership or something like that, right? But then moving them, right, how do you assign the responsibility and accountability for the improvement to the folks?
So again, in fact, to understand a little bit, like take some examples and then it will be able to connect the dots very clearly. So we all know the culture in organization is formed based on 4 steps. First step is the experience of the new associate or a visiting professionals or even a supplier, what they have felt based on their observations in that particular organization. It is either it is a positive or not positive. This experience will go to the next level in the culture formation on called perception. The experience will become a perception. It is based on the whatever the experience the person he or she got in that particular interaction or working in that organization. And then the perception is becoming a behavior. When this becomes a behavior based on the actions taken in the past, the behavior of that person will be changed. If the new employee will get changed. And last but not least, this behavior of individuals become the culture of the organization. Let me take an example. Let me take the example of the positive way. When the example of positive way, when a new employee or a new trainee in the organization observes hand washing is 100% compliant and must to have, and what you call it as non-negotiable. So that is his experience, what he gained from the day one. And that experience will become the perception. Yes, what the perception happens to the mind of the person is this hand washing is non-negotiable and he or she must do as a part of GMP activity. And then this perception becomes a behavior. Irrespective somebody watching or not, the person will be start following it. So that when it becomes the behavior of the person, by looking at the good behavior, all over in the factory, be it is the first shift or second shift or night shift, somebody watching CCTV is there, not there, it becomes the culture of the organization. So thereby we can create a kind of a positive way in the culture part. I will also take on the same components of the food safety culture in a not positive manner. So, for example, if an employee observes the record keeping and data maintaining is not happening appropriately, that is what the first trainees experience or first new employees experience in the shop floor. What will happen to the mind of then that experience of the person will become the perception saying that yes, the record keeping is acceptable in this organization, or non-maintaining proper record keeping is acceptable. And then what will happen? That perception will become a behavior of that person. He will also start doing a record falsification and non-maintaining the records, etc. And that becomes the culture of the organization. In a nutshell, what we want to do is to drive this, be the leadership of the organization, be a role model, walk the talk, and then by looking at the shadow of the leaders, the down the line team will able to improvise their behavior, and then the culture, positive culture will keep forming. To do this, it is not only the leader to be a role model and also motivate the small improvements being done in the organization. It could be a small improvement of control measure strengthening. It could be a small improvement of, say, a kind of one of the food safety KPI improvement. It could be a kind of a consumer complaint reduction. So those team members to be called and they should be motivated, and then thereby, this kind of action will able to motivate other members to bring more improvements. So one is measuring. Of course, measuring will come to know where are we. Second, the leadership should be able to look at the where are we on the cultural gaps, what kind of training we need to adopt, what kind of control measure we need to change, or what kind of external support we need to do. And in addition to that, motivating the team, that is another most important thing which every organization to evaluate when the culture journey is being strengthened.
I think very rightly put, Subramani is saying like doing it right when nobody is watching you, right? So that you don't have somebody, a worker having again a supervisor and then again a supervisor having a supervisor. So that just killing your resources. So building that food safety culture in your organization is very, very important. And definitely, as you mentioned, it has to be, from the top management to the lower management, right? Or the lower management to the top management. Everybody in the organization have to follow that, right? I think that's a great takeaway for the people who are listening to us. So coming to you, Smita, communication, as Subramani also mentioned, saying like there has to be a clear communication, there has to be a proper motivation, right? Communication is a key to establish a culture. So what do you think are the best methods of communicating the food safety culture within the organization?
I think from what Pranav and Subramani said, I think a lot of it is already covered, and Pranav actually gave an example of his own company. But absolutely right. I mean, effective messaging is essential to successfully communicating a company's food safety expectations. But these messages have to be consistent, clear to all staff members. They have to be regularly reminded of the company's, safe food practices and overall approach to food safety. So while the goal of communication and messaging is to educate and inform, there are a couple of things that when you ask what's the best practice in doing this, first thing is that there has to be a clear achievable indicator to what Subramani was saying, very clear expectations of what it means when you say safe food. Of course, has to be followed up by education and increasing the awareness of people that work for you. And then the third most important thing that I feel is the communication piece. And like I said, it has to be consistent. But when I say best practices, I've seen it in some of the organizations where food safety is, when you just tell allergy is a hazard. It's very easy to say allergy. But to somebody who, like Pranav said, in a rural area is working probably not so literate, probably never has had an allergy, what does it mean to them, to manage these things? So I have seen a number of organizations who've done the communication piece really well by using case studies to express how, for example, people develop allergic reactions. There are videos, there are posters about, you personalize any of these communications. So there's a little child with hives on its body or going red in the face after eating something. When you show these kind of posters or run these kind of messaging to say, this is the problem if things don't go right, and therefore you have to do it, that communication and that personalizing and giving it a face becomes very effective. So actually I've seen people, design simple posters, videos, using a lot of photos, saying this is what went wrong because this is what went in. There shouldn't have been a peanut, but a peanut went in, and this is what happened to this child of 7 years. That suddenly gets the communication right and the messaging across very powerfully to everyone. So I think the messaging, lots of avenues. We have social media, we have lots of stuff. Everybody has mobiles now, but that key is designing those effective messaging and personalizing it so that a person gets what it means and what it could mean for a 7-year-old child, for example. It makes it very real. So I guess that is what I would consider as best practices in communication. Personalizing it and making it real for the people who are going to implementing it.
Yeah, I think it's important, like you mentioned, saying like having posters, effective posters, because I was reading it somewhere and there's a research saying like whatever you, get trained on, you tend to forget within 30 days if you are not, implementing that as a practice. So not everything which is trained in a room gets implemented. So posters are a good way, definitely putting it there effectively. And also I think putting the risk factor in there, saying like, if you don't do this, this is the risk, not just saying like you do this, right? So I think making people aware about, what can be the risk involved, what rightly you mentioned as well, Smita. So I think that's something which has to be driven down, to have a good food safety culture. So Pranav, yeah, coming to you, you are an entrepreneur, you are there, as a management. So how do you empower your people to implement what the management is setting as a goal for the organization?
So firstly, we have to see what's happening at the moment in the ground level, and based on that, we assess the situations, and then we come back to what is required, and we sit down with the team and we set a parameter and a goal, so that from the top level till the ground level, to the bottom chain, food handlers can be. Communication should be the same, and also we look at the main two things is. We would like to set goals which are achievable firstly, and also look at people have to be as rightly said, we have to make sure that people are aware of what they're doing, why they're doing, and what can be the outcome. So based on that, we would like to look at making sure that the management is implementing the goals as which are achievable. And second of all, training. We look at making sure that the first step should be like the grading system should be in place, or we can have some scoring which can be put in place, where we can assess ourselves with a particular scale, and based on that we can show where we are standing and where we should have been. So that is one major thing what being a management we should start looking at, creating the parameters. So that will make more sense.
Yeah, I think just to add on to now what you mentioned, saying like, if anybody on the floor can come up to you. So for in case you forget to wear a headgear and then walk into your, factory, and somebody sees that and comes up to you and saying like, hey, you know what, you have missed wearing a headgear, right? Saying like, for me, that is an empowerment to, people there on the floor, saying like they are open to come up and saying like, this is something which is missing, and you're not, putting that on your head, right? So I think, yes, so these are the guys, the frontline workers who are there working on the floor, and if they are empowered, anything going wrong, if they are able to come up to you or the supervisor and saying that this is going wrong, that is something I think great. Yes, empowering your people is the way ahead, making sure that's happening. So continuing with you, Pranav, people have to be definitely encouraged to come up to you and then, tell you what's going wrong. Otherwise, you can't be there at the factory watching them, all the time. So definitely you have to have some rewards and recognition, which are the great ways to motivate your people to achieve the goals, right? So you have put those goals which you mentioned. So what type of rewards and recognition have you instituted at your organization?
Okay, to be honest, nothing in terms. Okay, so to be honest, nothing in terms of a reward or a reward which we have right now, but definitely we have something in recognition, and we're looking at yes, that's definitely a motivating factor where we have a reward or a reward system scheme in between. So that actually makes sure that everybody is aware, make sure that everybody is going, everything is going smooth on the shop floor, and also people are aware of and correcting themselves immediately. And coming back to Vishal has nothing in place at the moment in terms of rewarding. So definitely we'll look at it in the future, but this will be a good scorekeeping kind of a thing where everybody might be aware of what's happening around them.
Yeah, I think if I'm not too sure if you have missed out, saying like definitely, at Vishal, we do have saying like wherein the employee of the month has been put across. So that's a way of, recognizing folks. I think, you've been traveling and then I think, joining in, for this session. But then, yeah, so monetary is not only the way, right, how you can, because that can do a flip side of it. That can be negative at times. So, but then also, saying like, hey, you have done a great job, right? Just motivating by saying, recognizing them on doing a good job and saying just a thank you so much is a way of recognition, which I think, as a culturally, we do that as well.
Yeah, we do
right?
that in person, definitely.
Yeah. And also recognizing them, saying like the best employee of the month, or this is what has happened, applauding them in front of, the other people who are there, so that they become the leaders out there. They become, saying like somebody starts looking up to them, saying like, hey, you have done a great job and I want to do that. So that's something I think, which is there built in, but we never, look into those, saying like, yes, these can be the pointers where we can, go ahead, or maybe just sitting with them, having a lunch, right? That's something, I think a motivation for others who are looking at it, saying like, hey, you have done a great job. Let's sit down for a lunch together. So I think we do it. It's just about the capturing the moments, saying like, okay, who's the who has done something to put that culture in, right? So that is something I think, needs to be captured. So, but then yes, a great move, Pranav, right? Coming to you, Smita, out here, you are familiar with a lot of organization, with implementing, getting the FSSC, leading that way. And from what you see, what are some of the key factors that drive success in implementing food safety culture?
I think a lot of it is already said, but if I have to say in like broad terms and summarize it to some few keywords, then I would say that what really drives success first is brainstorming, not blame storming. So building trust at all levels, you brainstorm things and find reasons on how to improve or why something went wrong. So getting that trust at all level, like you also said, that you can go up to someone and say this is not right. So that brainstorming versus a blame storming culture is what needs to be there. Making food safety a day-to-day mindset is not only for an audit, and like what I heard Vishal said, they are ready for an IFS audit walking in any time. So that should be the way to go about it. I think it all starts, the success comes from being able to explain why you're doing some things. It's not just because I say so, but doing this, the consequence of not doing it is this, the good positive effect of doing this is this. That needs to be explained across the organization to all employees. But the most important thing is, I think there are two things in an organization: invest in training and awareness building and proper equipment. I cannot kind of emphasize enough on how critical it becomes as a driver to success when you have the right design and the right equipment to do your work as well. So I think these are the big things that I see that drive success. For India, a lot of times, you're reverse engineering things. There's some retrofitting done to kind of make it work the way you want to. But when you're designing something, I guess that's also very key in driving success in food safety. So yeah, proper equipment and investing in training is also very, very critical.
Yeah, I think, the leaders, the top management becomes the leaders, right? Like Subramanyam was mentioning, walk the talk, right? Whatever you're talking, whatever you're putting it into the policy has to be, coming down to the worker level, because they are your front level, fronters who are working. They are the last people in the whole chain who's going to be touching the food before your consumer touches it. So it's important that they understand, they are trained well, right? Invest in your training, absolutely right. And moving from the blame game to, the other side is also absolutely required, because yeah, we are, we pounce on everything as an Indian, saying like, oh, you did this wrong. We appraise people very less. So that's there in our culture, which has to change, right? Saying like appraise people more and then blame them less, saying like it's a, as a company, it's everybody's responsibility to make sure things are working. I think, yes, absolutely. That's something, we have to start working on. So it's, I think, just to put in here, generally what happens in the organization, as per my experience, people say it's a QA's job to do everything right. So I think we have to sift our, thought process itself from our QA to everybody, right? Everybody is responsible. QA is just a policing guy there to do, mid checks and level checks and all of those. But then the production guys, the purchase guys, as Subramani was mentioning, as Smita was mentioning, as Pranav mentioned, saying that everybody in the organization is equally responsible to make sure the food that's coming out is safe for consumption, right? I do hear a lot of times people mentioning, saying like, if I can eat that food which has been prepared at my premises, or if I can feed that food to my people back home, can I take that week stock and make sure I can feed the same food which is going out? My people can eat, then I'm confident that my consumers can eat, the people out in the market can eat. I think that is something, which you have to be confident about, saying that whatever has been getting made has been well prepared and people are, handling that right.
Sarika, just to add to what you're saying, I think that mindset that this is brand protection as well. So that is what I think it also needs to be looked at as food safety culture is brand protection, not just, like you said, a quality department's job. So I guess, yes.
Absolutely. Saying like, if I pick up a product which has a brand, I do, go back and say, okay, they have been doing things right, correct? Definitely, that's where a brand buildup happens. Tomorrow, if any of the product comes out which is not as per the requirement, where the people are falling sick, the mind will go back, what the hell are they doing at the factory? So definitely a brand does add a lot of value to, any organization that's there. So yeah, Pranav has to leave a little early. So that is where we could be wrapping it a little early. So, we are at our last question out here to Subramani, to you. What do you see the role of training in improving the food safety culture? I know we've been talking about it, saying like, training is required, but then how deep is that? How do you think that would improve the food safety culture?
Yeah, we all know the trained manpower will able to deliver more better results. I would like to answer with a kind of a example which I've seen in the industry. So when we do the food safety maturity continuum discussions, we communicate the team, everywhere the risks are there. We need to have a right control measure. Then we also tell them control measures are of three types. One is manual detection, manual control, which is the very lowest degree of control. Second, manual auto detection and manual control. Some equipment will tell whether the process is in place or not, and then somebody has to manually go and correct it. Third one, we'll talk about auto detection and auto control, and there is a kind of control measures are existing in an auto manner to address it. When this was explained to the shop floor, and also when we said one of the process is currently in that particular plant in the lowest degree of control measure. For example, it is manual detection, manual control. Then we said, kindly evaluate the improvement opportunity. Since the food safety culture is best in the particular unit, within 3 weeks, I got a call saying that, sir, now we moved from manual detection, manual control to auto detection, manual control. We put an additional temperature sensor, and the sense if the temperature goes high, X, Y, Z, there is a kind of alert mechanism comes in. So I was really very happy to hear, the shop floor, when the skill is being given, when the concept is given, when the passion is there, when the energy is there, things can able to evolve. And within next 4 weeks, again, I got a call saying that now we moved from auto detection to auto control. That has really created a kind of an internal pleasure for me. When you start training the concepts to the team, and the team can able to evaluate and bringing the results, definitely it's going to give improvement for the industry. So training is a vital. Leaders cannot be there everywhere. We need to give the knowledge and skills to the shop floor team, which we will be able to evolve. I like to quote Mr. Shivkera. He says, winners are those who have two things. One is skill, second is will. It's the leaders who we need to give the skill part through the various manners. We can able to evaluate and then giving it. That is what my submission. And last but not least, the motivation of the team. When we motivate, now we are in the social age of media. So what we started doing is, whenever an improvement on food safety matrix has been made, that whatever the recognition is being done, the recognitions is being done, it could be a kind of a token of appreciation, award, trophy. Then that particular picture we are putting into the social media of the company, and then we are putting into the LinkedIn platform, Facebook platform. So that gives more internal energy to the team. Yes, we did something, and the story is being published in the social media by the organization. What else the person will get a improvement, and that's furthermore driving the improvement. And also we can also evaluate when such things happen. We will present this particular case study in a kind of a national level platform. It could be a kind of XYZ platform where the people can be sent to either to Bombay or Delhi to present this case study, and then they will feel really encouraged and energized to do many things. These are few examples we can talk about. I'm sure this example will be learning from each other and try to shape it further.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, just being leaders, sitting in a room, or just being the policy makers doesn't help. You have to get down to the operator level, involve them, because they are the ones who are going to lead it, right? So having them in is critical, crucial, right? Till they are not in, I don't think so we can build up a good food safety culture. So here I give just a small example I give. So, to most of the places where I do a food safety culture assessment and all of those, I say, Sena, when you do mainly aarti in a Hindu family, right? When you are doing a aarti, generally your bell is on your left hand and your diya is on your right hand. You don't have to teach that. That's a culture that we have been looking at. It's by observation, right? So people through observation, like Subramanyam mentioned in the starting, a hand wash is non-negotiable. And anybody coming into your organization should know, saying like, this is something which has to be followed. This is something which can't do. Saying like, if you're missing a CCP, right? And your leaders are coming up and saying it's okay to skip that CCP and send the product because there's a pressure. That is something non-negotiable. That is where people should understand what is the risk involved and making sure the product is on hold. So these are all the cultures that's been seen in the industry, right? And that happens when you empower those people to work on it and let them know, saying like, yes, it's absolutely right to take the right decisions there, and then go with that, because there is finally the risk that's been involved. So yeah, thank you, Subramani. So this has been a fantastic conversation so far. I think we have some time. We would be closing definitely a little early because Pranav has a flight to catch. So we will be taking few questions in the meantime. So there is one question from Mr. Haris Balaji Rao. Can one add in company food safety policy the point of food safety culture? So Subramani, would you like to go for that? Can one add in company food safety policy the point of food safety culture?
Yeah, many companies now adding culture journey, improvement journey as a part of the policy. And since the metrics are, as I talked about, are already been done in many organizations, it is very easy to measure. The policy should be, moving from say beginner to say practitioner, or practitioner to improver, or improver to the leader. That kind of maturity levels can be part of the policy. Some organizations already started doing this.
So Pranav, you'd like to add something to that? And can we add the food safety culture to our policy?
Yeah, definitely. So we can add, as Sir said very rightly, we should add it to the policy, and also make sure that the awareness is all across the pyramid. Let it be from the top to down. And also we would like to also make sure that there are people who are having the empowerer people who can take a issue, form a team, make sure that there is a corrective measure done by the team, and then there's a result which is sizable, and then you can and then the management can take sure that they may take the the result further on. So that's the culture we can put into the.
Great, nice to know that. So Smita, the next question to you, it's a general question though. So do you think COVID-19 taught us food safety culture? So this question is from Potukuchi Subramanyam.
I think it changed, it shifted the compass a bit. It's once in 100-year event that happened, and what we thought and took for granted in all our factories and our food businesses. Suddenly, I think COVID-19, with the initial scare of the virus stays so long on the cardboard and plastic, whatever. I mean, not backed by research in that sense, but all these things that came out initially, yes, it brought food safety into focus, and it did move the needle a bit. People are more aware now. Hand washing has become a way of life, and so is masking. So I do believe COVID did something to move the needle on food safety. Yes, and it's brought food safety back in focus, and it's suddenly become critical and important that all good businesses have these basic things in place. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I think the life has become more easier for the food industry because
Yes,
everybody has understood how to wash their hands, right?
that's
Which
true.
was difficult. I
Absolutely.
think, yeah, the most difficult task, to teach people how to wash hands, and especially, in our country where few people haven't even seen water flowing from the taps, right? So teaching them how to wash their hands, I think COVID did a great job in that manner. I think, yeah.
Absolutely.
Just to add a point, celebrities came in front of the screen to teach the
People to
people how to
wash.
wash hands. What else you need?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And also, I think, for that manner, consumers as a consumer, the hygiene requirement was pretty much higher. People started asking, saying like, where is my produce coming from? Right?
Yeah.
How is it coming from? Who's the person from where it's coming? So I think with those questions coming into the mind of your customer, definitely you have to go back and look at your productions. You have to see, saying like, what best we can do, how best we can portray our product, how best can we produce our product out there for the market. I think that's something brownie which we can take it away from the COVID times, right? I know tough times, but then yeah. So we would yes, Smita, adding something. Okay. So we would like to close this session with some quick final remarks. First off, Subramani, a quick wrap up.
Yeah, quick wrap up is, as I said, if every team member is being communicated what part, how part, and and then it will be very easy for execution. So as a leaders, we need to tell what part and how part, and then the journey should start. And the internal motivation for improving the internal culture score, internal culture maturity level is also to be felt as one of the business objective. Yes, this business objective from we need to move from X to Y. It is going to give a lot, edge to the business competitiveness as well as the brand image. So that is my closing remarks.
Smita, could you like to add something to that?
Yes, since our discussion was around food safety culture, I remember a line from the 80s. I think it was this management guru who said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So, I think going by that line, putting a food safety culture is more than a technical issue. It's something that we need to be sustainably producing good quality, safe food. So I guess that is what I would like to close with.
So Pranav, you would like to add to this?
Definitely. I would like to, I would definitely like to see more and more companies in India coming forward and auditing all our companies in various aspects, including the food safety culture, to see where we stand, how we stand, what we are doing, how well we are doing, and where the food is coming from, and how well is it being handled and processed. And that definitely helps keep the score and the brand, as we can see that the brand value also increases slowly.
Great. Yep. So that was a great conversation, I think. Thank you, everyone. We hope this has been insightful and will trigger some thoughts on the topic. I know food safety culture is the need of an hour and everybody is working towards it. I want to thank all the panelists, Subramani, Smita, Pranav, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us. And as we start wrapping up, a little bit about ourselves. We are foods and consulting company on a mission to keep food safe for human consumption. We help our clients with design, implementation of standards, and regulatory compliances for national and international standards. Food Safety Conversation is our monthly webinar series to share knowledge from the practitioners on the various aspects of food and safety. Do share your feedback on our email ID, feedback@foodsafetyworks.in. If there are topics that you would like us to cover, please send them to us and we would be happy to cover them. To stay updated on our webinars, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on different social medias, FB, LinkedIn, Insta, and Twitter, and our handle is Food Safety Works. We regularly share news and insights about what is going in the world of food safety. As a company, we are committed to sharing the knowledge and providing end-to-end solutions for food safety. We conduct regular online trainings on various topics, including 4-stack trainings as per the FSSAI mandate. Today afternoon, we have a training on food safety competency. And this week, we are doing a masterclass on setting up an effective food safety system. Do register for the same. You can also download our Android app from Play Store to stay updated on the happenings around food safety. To check out on how we can help you on your journey of health, safety, and food, please visit our website, www.foodsafetyworks.com. While you are there, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. Thank you once again for joining. Have a good rest of the day and wishing you safe times ahead. Thank you so much, Subramani, Smita, Pranav, for accepting, being our panel.
Thank you for the great.
Thank you, Sarika, and more power to you. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Smita.
Stay safe. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.